I good to go? All right. Well, welcome everybody. Is this on? Are we good? You can hear? All right. If not, I'll talk loud. Welcome everybody. I'm Andy Schor. I am the mayor of the great city of Lansing, our capital city. I want to welcome you all here. First, of course, we want to welcome Michigander and Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who is a former mayor, so I know he really can get things done. That's what we always say. But welcome to the Secretary. Oh. Jonathan, man. There it is. All right, well, welcome. We have our incredible Congresswoman, Elissa Slotkin, talking about someone who can get things done. She has been doing it for us for years in D.C., and we love having her here. I know I've got a council member here, Council Member Peter Spatafor, and I think Councilman Garza was supposed to be here, or Council President Garza. But welcome, everybody. And then I can't forget all of our wonderful union members. Thank you to all the union folks that are here. This is a great day to have a wonderful person here who's making big decisions in D.C., here in Lansing, checking out what we're doing. We know that Lansing is leading the way to create more job opportunities in construction and spur private development, private activity in vehicle production and chargers. We're doing all of the things for our future. This summer, I was able to join with the Secretary of Energy, another former Michigander, our former governor, Jennifer Granholm, when she announced $500 million from the federal government coming to our city, to GM, to repurpose our Lansing Grand River. Earlier this year, the Federal Highway Administrator was here, where we announced $8 million for electric vehicle chargers. Thank you again to the Secretary, coming through the Department of Transportation. Not only that, when we talk about the dollars that are coming down, you know, I spent a lot of years as mayor just praying and hoping for dollars to come down from the federal government. But when the Biden-Harris administration came in, when some of our friends, Secretary Buttigieg, Secretary Granholm, Secretary Sue, when all of these folks came in, they started delivering the dollars. We received $5 million from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to expand our tree canopy, which is going to be huge for us to keep areas cool and fight climate change. Our school district got $6 million from the Department of Transportation to purchase electric school buses. You're going to see a trend. Our airport is getting millions of dollars to upgrade roads, streets, and cargo ramps. We received a federal grant to study our solid waste and our recycling infrastructure. We're working with the Army Corps of Engineers on some of our dams. And we're getting a U.S. Department of Transportation grant to fund our safe streets initiatives to make our roads safer and our pedestrians and bicyclists safer. We also know that we're getting funding to study implementation and rollout of clean energy projects like solar panels and facilities. And not only are these things that we're getting, we are really excited for things that are coming in the future. When you look at the bipartisan infrastructure law, when you look at the Inflation Reduction Act, the possibility of direct tax credits that's going to help not only us for our constituents, but our nonprofits and our faith-based community. And here we're standing in the middle of a massive construction site, improving access in and around our capital city. We see all of these workers here working hard. We're really excited. We know that there is some temporary inconvenience, but I tell everybody that this is what fixing the damn roads looks like. You can't just go like that and have new roads. This is what we do. We have construction workers that are here fixing our roads, making them better, making it easier to travel. So we're gonna keep doing all of this. We're gonna be looking at the Reconnecting Communities grant, which we know is going into its third phase, where we're gonna look at 496 and propose some things. But we're really excited. And talking about all of the infrastructure and jobs and dollars, I don't want to forget the American Rescue Plan Act, which, but for that, Lansing would be in some serious trouble. Coming out of COVID, the Biden-Harris administration really ensured that we were able to move forward. We were here yesterday talking about small businesses, and that wouldn't have happened but for the American Rescue Plan Act. So I want to give my tremendous thanks to the federal government. I think I spent like half of my State of the City talking about the federal and state government and how they're helping us. And again, that is very new for mayors. It's not something that I think my friend Mayor Pete saw when he was mayor in South Bend, but coming in and having a federal government, having a congresswoman and 2 U.S. senators that are willing to go to bat for Lansing, having a Secretary of Transportation who's here checking it out and going to bat for communities like Lansing. It's a new day. It's a new day, and I'm excited. So I'll leave it there because you have more important to hear from. But again, I want to introduce the best Congresswoman in the state of America, or the state of America, in the nation. She is a good friend to me and to all of our residents, and I'm just very proud to introduce Congresswoman Elissa Slotkin.
The state of America. Hey everyone, thank you Mayor Schor for all you do for Lansing. Thank you Secretary Buttigieg for coming to look close up at what we're doing here and how these federal dollars are being put to work. I think it's just important to understand, like, how does this stuff actually happen? What is the story that brings this amount of money into a city like Lansing? The project behind us is about a $200 million project. $36 million of it is federal dollars. So that is part and parcel of what we've been able to bring in at the federal level. You heard some of the projects from the mayor, but in total so far from the federal level, we've had $7 billion in road and bridge funding come into Michigan since the legislation, the bipartisan infrastructure law, was passed in 2021. That's about 600 projects currently active right now in the state of Michigan, and we still have more money coming in. We'll probably top off at about $10 billion that come in from that one piece of legislation. So as the one person who voted on that legislation back in 2021, who's standing up here, I just thought it'd be useful to review the bidding on how you get to something like this. To be honest, the framework of the bipartisan infrastructure deal came from a group that I'm a part of. It's something called the Problem Solvers Caucus in the U.S. Congress. It's the only truly bipartisan caucus left in the U.S. Congress. It's equal numbers of Democrats and Republicans. You literally can't get into the club without finding someone on the other side of the aisle and walking in 2 by 2. We keep equal numbers. We're about 31 Dems, we are 31 Dems, 31 Republicans. You sign a civility pledge. You don't campaign against each other. And this is important because the framework for the bill came out of that group. We sat together, no Twitter, no media, no offense, and hammered out a framework in the spring of 2021. We brought in the U.S. senators who wanted to also work on that same bipartisan framework. We adjusted it based on the additional needs of the senators, Democrats and Republicans, and we started turning that into a piece of legislation, a big piece of legislation. In the summer, August of 2021, we dropped that piece of legislation so that everyone could look at it and read it. We had a good, healthy debate, and in November of 2021, we passed that legislation. And I just want to say, it was bipartisan. We had actually a Republican member of the Michigan delegation at the time. Fred Upton was our one Republican who voted on that with us. He was part of the Problem Solvers Caucus. But I highlight that because real stuff happens when people act like adults in Washington. When they're, it's the train. That I'm going to say that they're cheering for bipartisan cooperation in Washington, the trains. When we work together and stop all the angry rhetoric and all the pot shots and all the nastiness, we actually get stuff done. So that bill was passed and signed into law by President Biden, and we are now seeing the fruits of that in this project here. It's why it's been deeply gratifying to watch these projects happen. As we know, a lot of Lansing residents know that their commute to work is different, or when you're coming into tailgate, you got to adjust because of the construction. Okay. But it's for an extremely good, once-in-a-generation investment in our roads, our bridges, and our infrastructure that is absolutely worth it. Let me say one other thing, because I know we've had strong union participation, and you're going to hear from my friend Al here in a minute to talk about it. When we wrote the legislation, we went into the details. We put in specific Buy American requirements for steel, for concrete, prevailing wage. We put in specific language to make sure that even when the money starts flowing, it's spent in specific ways that benefits the United States of America, American workers, American jobs, American facilities. So it is important to understand that that investment is going to pay dividends for generations. Folks in Washington have been talking about getting infrastructure done, Democrats and Republicans. This is the concrete living example of how it actually materializes. It's not always the sexiest thing to work hard across a bipartisan approach, but it works and it makes sense, and that's what we need to get back to. So thank you for being here. We're honored that the Secretary joined us today to highlight how important this is for the region, for our state. I'm now going to hand it over to one of our site managers here, Al Payne, for the operating engineers. He's going to give his inaugural public address. So give him a big round of applause. Thanks.
Thank you. I just want to say we've been in the union about 30 years now, and we can see through the union the cooperation between these guys and generating work and keeping us busy, and that's what we need to see in the future to keep these kind of jobs running and going. And we're happy that they're on our side, and we're happy that we can support them as well. So here's the secretary to tell you all about it. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Thanks, Al, for being part of the program. Thanks for, most importantly, what you and fellow union members across the state and across the country have been doing to build America and to make sure that these investments turn into results for everybody. We're proud to be with you today. And I want to thank Mayor Andy Schor. As he mentioned, we first got to know each other in the community of American mayors back when I was mayor of South Bend, Indiana. And I think in many ways the job has only gotten tougher since I proudly wore the title. But I will say, and I think the mayor will agree, it sure would have been nice back then when I was mayor if there was a bipartisan infrastructure law delivering $1 trillion in investments across America to cities like South Bend, Indiana, cities like Lansing, and communities across the Midwest and across the country. That day has come, and as mayors like Mayor Schor look at their vision for a growing economy and a safer community and better transportation systems, that's no longer just ideas on the drawing board. It's turning into reality because the funding is finally here. Likewise, I want to thank my friend Representative Elissa Slotkin. As she explained so well, none of these projects unless there is the funding that Representative Slotkin and others put together and voted for in this bipartisan infrastructure law. It's easy to talk now like it would have happened no matter what, so let us remember that during that period of months that she was describing, as she and her House colleagues were reaching across the aisle and engaging with each other, that the political obituary of this legislation was written half a dozen times by Washington commentators. It was far from certain that this infrastructure plan would become a reality. Indeed, the previous administration promised to deliver one and failed. So this isn't something that just happens on its own. It happens when you have the right kind of leadership. We have that kind of leadership in Representative Slotkin, who looks across party lines and across some of those old divisions to just get stuff done. So thanks for everything you do, Congressman. And I know we got a lot of state leaders here. I want to recognize Governor Whitmer and her fantastic team. I want to thank Greg Brunner for both the tour and the expert work. I want to thank the Chief Infrastructure Officer for Michigan, Zach. I saw him out here. So there you are. You know, every time I see the governor, she teases me and just calls me the Secretary of Fix the Damn Roads. So we understand what our assignment is back in Washington, to be a partner to the state of Michigan. But I will say our federal dollars go a lot further when you have leaders who understand the importance of infrastructure. And that is exactly what you have here in Michigan. So I've had the privilege of being literally across the entire country. I've visited every one of our 50 states just in the time that I've had this job. And in the last few months, that's really been about visiting active construction. We've been visiting sites from a new rail line going in North Carolina, to a new bridge we're putting in Maine, to a new port facility in Wisconsin. But this is a particularly welcome visit, and not just because it's driving distance from home and I'll be able to see my kids before bedtime tonight, but because this is something that will really bring safety benefits as well as convenience benefits to so many people in this region. We're supporting it with over $36 million to contribute toward making 127 safer and less congested. We're also here not just because our focus on what is being built, but on how it's being built and on who is building it. I know Liuna is here, the operating engineers are here, and I just had a chance to see how they're helping get 127 improved ahead of schedule, which is part of 175,000 miles of roadway we're improving. They may not be here, but UAW workers are going to be benefiting from what we're doing and are benefiting as manufacturing plants are expanding and reopening and retooling, including some major facilities here like the $500 million support for the Lansing Grand River Assembly plant to make sure they are at the forefront of the EV economy, retaining 650 jobs, creating another 50, and bringing training for workers here too. IBEW, helping install and maintain a growing network of EV chargers. And I should note that the number of EV chargers in America has now doubled to 192,000 ports, twice as many as we had when President Biden took office. And I expect that grant that we've awarded to Lansing is going to go to very good use as Mayor Schor builds out those chargers to make sure more people here can participate in that. So bottom line, we are fixing the damn roads, as Governor Whitmer would say, and everything over and under and around those roads too. And it's creating a lot of good paying jobs while we're at it. I'm thinking about the UA plumbers and pipe fitters, Local 333, building new manufacturing and facilities, airports, clean energy facilities, and now having to build their own facility up because there are so many apprentices joining that they can't fit in the current space. Creating construction jobs to construct a bigger training facility to support people in construction jobs is about as big of a full circle moment as I can imagine. And they have gone from 40 apprentices a year to 200 entering these terrific union careers. And this is happening across the country. UA has grown by 21,000 members just since this administration began. And the result of that is that the whole country gets stronger. When more work comes to union households and families, that's putting the industrial back into the industrial Midwest, and it means presence under the tree. It means a new car or truck in the driveway. It means the chance to own a home. And that's the transformation that's happening across this country. For too long, Americans were looking at the state of our infrastructure saying, why can't we have nice things? And the answer was, it was a choice, because the funding just wasn't there. That's what we've changed. Project after project, from six-figure projects to fix a crosswalk or a streetlight somewhere, to projects that will invest hundreds of millions of dollars to save lives, like the one that we're celebrating today. In a few hours, I'm going to be with President Biden, who will make major announcement on expanding and cementing gains in measures like project labor agreements, registered apprenticeships, and more to support union workers, which is a huge difference between those who have just talked the talk and those who have walked the walk, including literally, in the case of President Biden, the first sitting president to walk a picket line in the United States in modern times. So I know Labor Day is a few days ago, but I don't think it's too late to say Happy Labor Day, because it's a labor week, a labor season, and a season of infrastructure in the life of our country. And yeah, I got to say, I thought the coolest part of this job would be seeing the vehicles and the technology. I got to kick the tires on a 747. That was pretty cool. But really the best part of this job has been moments like I had earlier today with electrical worker apprentices, because when I'm with the apprentices, I get a chance to see how they are not just transforming our infrastructure, they're transforming their futures. You feel that as they stand up taller, going out, know that they will be providing a good income for their families and also providing better infrastructure for our economy. And it's a thrill to be partnering with all of you in order to make that happen. So thanks for the chance to celebrate this great project. No pressure, but I'm looking forward to seeing reports of it being completed on time and on budget, as I know it will, and we're excited about the road ahead. And with that, I think we have a little bit of time for questions from members of the media.
Okay, folks, if you have a question, please raise your hand and I'll call on you. We're going to keep it tight, and a reminder, we're going to try and keep the questions on topic. Go ahead.
I know you can't talk about the election too much, but you mentioned various pots of money that the federal government has to do. If there is a change in administration, could some of that money be blocked still, and therefore is there an incentive to get more of these grants and money out the door quickly this year?
Well, we're certainly working hard to get these dollars out the door and to make sure that we're not just announcing a good award, but we're seeing dirt moving like we are right here on this site. I won't comment on the election, but I will say a policy change could put infrastructure funding at risk. We've seen that in the House Republican appropriation proposal, for example, which would strip away resources from some of the infrastructure projects we have in mind. And I would also point out that when you hear congressional Republicans and others talking about killing the tax incentives that are powering the Made in America EV industry, that would kill auto manufacturing jobs in the EV industry and the building trades jobs going into those facilities. Just right here, there are 500 workers from the electrical workers alone just working on a single plant that is going up right here in this region. And it's a reminder of the fact that this EV economy isn't just about cleaner air for our children to breathe, it's about good paying union jobs. And I would be concerned about any policy change that would put those good paying union jobs at risk.
Sustainable is transportation funding at the federal level long term? This is a special pot of money that's making this happen. But in the long term, can the country continue to afford improving infrastructure at this rate?
Well, we're in year 3 of a 5-year bill. So right now we're in the middle of this round of investments. But the reality is we know that there's going to continue to be more need. The return on investment for good infrastructure funding is extraordinary. And so to me, the question isn't, can we afford to fix the damn roads and have good bridges and build up our capacity in passenger rail and fix our ports? The question is, can we afford not to? And I think the answer is no, we can't. Well, we know that there's an international process that is underway there. What I will say is that while PHMSA doesn't decide what pipelines get built, we do take very seriously our responsibility to make sure anything that is built is safe. Millions of miles of pipeline are under PHMSA's watch, and we work every day to make sure they meet the highest safety standards.
Okay, folks, I'm sorry, that's all we have time for.
All right. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Members of the media, we're all done here. There's really not much else to see. Secretary Buttigieg,
Hey, thanks for everything.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
know
It's been
these
a
are not
pleasure.
a lot of fun.